right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
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 Because it's time to right.
Welcome, my friends, to another daily writing stream. I'm Kaufman, and today we're going to do some more writing, as we do every day. I am so proud and so thrilled that the cover for The Last Scarecrow is finally out. But this means continue to get some more work in. So I'm continuing to push through the third draft, which I'm actually getting through it pretty quickly, so making some solid progress. I'm going to continue reading aloud this draft as I am reading and revising. Feel free to tag along, sit back, kick back, relax, watch, hang out, or do what you do. Whether you want to throw up some comments or you're just coming to do a co-working sesh. All right, and as you can see here, I already got the stream all set up. Oh, that cover, am I right? Oh, the cover's so awesome. I'm so happy with it. Okay. So let's do this. I think I will open it up in another section. Let's see, bear with me just one moment. And I'm going to pull up the cover separately. All right, so let me get this fixed real fast. And all right, in a perfect world, we're always prepared, right? Okay, so we are set. Here we go. All right, so there is that wonderful cover. So awesome. It's like, I think this is kind of my intro page. Look at that. So fancy. The Last Scarecrow, a Dawn of Magic series, part 1. Dark fantasy and action adventure. Perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. Let's see, do I need... All right, and let's go. So how far am I? So I'm in the third draft, and I want to say I am at the start of the new city arc. Let's see, so I just went through this, the first introduction of a character since after the Crow. So let's see how our third character in the novel feels. This is at 12 points, so probably about 50 pages into the novel. Okay. Silence. Scarecrow crossed his arms, waiting. Maybe the Tin Wizard could help Mr. Crow find his nest. Maybe the Tin Wizard could tell them what was wrong with Mother Nature. The world he remembered did not involve embers raining from the sky or lightning strikes from the earth. Maybe the Tin Wizard could tell him who he was. He stretched his fingers, palms up. Or maybe he could point him to the other scarecrows. Or maybe he could or maybe the Tin Wizard, let's see, I feel like I use that word a lot. All right, so we can actually condense this. Maybe the Tin Wizard could help Mr. Crow find his nest. Maybe he could tell them what was wrong. Maybe the Tin Wizard, maybe he could tell them what was wrong with Mother Nature. The world he remembered did not involve embers raining from the sky or lightning strikes from the earth. Maybe the Tin Wizard could tell them who he was. Scarecrow could tell him who he was. Let's see. Or maybe he could point them. Or maybe he could help find. Maybe he could point him, or maybe he could point him to other scarecrows. The last one's a little bit. Or maybe he could point him to other scarecrows. And like, we know it's Scarecrow, so Scarecrow crossed his arms, waiting. Maybe the Tin Wizard could help Mr. Crow find his nest. Maybe he could tell them what was wrong with Mother Nature. The world he remembered did not involve embers raining from the sky, or lightning strikes from the earth. Maybe the Tin Wizard could tell him who he was. I actually liked that previous sentence. Scarecrow stretched his fingers. Scarecrow stretched his fingers. Palms up. Palm. Scarecrow stretched his fingers. Palms up. Or maybe he could, or maybe the Tin Wizard. So that's what, 3 times within. Maybe the Tin Wizard could point him to the other scarecrows. Let's go ellipses. It's 3 instances. 1, 2, 3 for repetition. Okay. And banish thee, foul creature, roared a strong, whispery voice. Scarecrow pressed his ear to the wall. Hello? Eat my carrots! Raising his voice, Scarecrow screamed. Hello? Can you hear me? You calling me deaf? The voice responded with a shout. No, I'm sorry, Hello? To us, what do you? The voice grew distant. Scarecrow pressed his ear harder against the wall. Footsteps kicking and jingling echoed out. Then silence. Scarecrow stepped away from the wall, uncertain how to proceed. He thought about calling for Mr. Crow again. Crash! He stumbled back as a white figure barged through the wall, sliding past and kicking up sand in his face. He stumbled back as a white figure barged through the wall, sliding past and kicking up sand in his face. Scarecrow coughed, waving the smoke away that rose from the body-sized hole in the wall. A white paw grabbed him by the chest, pinning him against the wall. A pair of large, red, angry eyes glared at him. They were set above a tiny pink nose, a furry white face, whiskers, and 2 long, pointy ears. Hands raised in the air, Scarecrow cried out, Sorry, Mr. or Miss Rabbit? The red in the eye swirled to a soft green, then white. Terror spread across the rabbit's face. With a soft, childlike whisper, Sorry. With a soft, childlike whisper, the rabbit responded. Sorry. They dropped him to the ground. They dropped him to the ground with a smooth. No. They dropped him to the ground, patting the sand off Scarecrow's shoulders. They dropped him to the ground, patting the sand off Scarecrow's shoulders. Terribly sorry. The rabbit hopped back as its eye color shifted from yellow to gray back to white. I don't know what came over me. Scarecrow nodded as he sized up the animal. The rabbit was about his size, mostly white fur. Scarecrow nodded as he brushed himself off. The rabbit was about his size, mostly white fur and pink scars here and there. I actually like that better as he sized up the animal. The rabbit was about his size, mostly white fur and pink scars here and there. A shirt of tiny chains adorned his chest, covered by a large coat with more inner pockets than one could count. A soft array of colors shone from within the various pockets. Odd. He didn't know rabbits could grow to be his size, or that they could speak. That's quite all right. I'm Scarecrow, and you are? The rabbit began. The rabbit's eye color shifted to a midnight blue. They thrust a paw into an inner coat pocket as their look turned grim and voice gruff. That is privileged information, Cotton Ball. The rabbit hopped back, eyes shifting yellow, arms raised. Apologies. The rabbit paused, took a deep breath, and hopped toward Scarecrow. He whispered, That place is cursed. Do. The rabbit punched himself in the gut as they reeled over with an audible oof. The rabbit bounced up, eyes murky gray. Oh my! The rabbit covered its mouth with both hands, shocked. Both of his paws shot into side coat pockets. Eyes closed, face relaxed. He sighed audibly and relaxed. He sighed audibly. Eyes closed, face tense. Both of his paws shot into side coat pockets. Eyes closed, face tense. He sighed audibly and relaxed. Eyes open, golden yellow, he walked towards Scarecrow, each step getting closer and closer. He fished out a paw, something grasped within as a bright purple light seeped through his fingers. He looked to Scarecrow, smile growing, but it wasn't friendly or endearing. It was ominous. Scarecrow tried to step away, but his back was already to the wall. The rabbit reached out with a closed fist to touch him, purple light seeping out. Golden yellow eyes glowing, neck craned, smiling wider and wider. The rabbit leaned close in, his presence nearly overwhelming, eyes of red as he asked with a deadly whisper. Do I know you? Scarecrow shook his head. No, I don't know. I don't remember. He waved his arms, but try as he might, the rabbit easily overpowered him. The rabbit's paw inched nearer to Scarecrow's face. He waved his arms, but try as he might, the rabbit easily overpowered him. Scarecrow. So the rabbit leaned close in, his presence nearly overwhelming. Eyes of red as he asked with a deadly whisper, Do I know you? Scarecrow shook his head. No, I don't remember. He waved his arms, but try as he might, the rabbit's presence, the rabbit's demeanor, was overwhelming. He waved his arms, but try as he might, the rabbit's demeanor was overwhelming. The rabbit's paw inched nearer to Scarecrow's face as the purple light grew brighter from whatever the object was. With a sniff, the strange animals stopped, their noses nearly touching. A soft, alluring whisper escaped the rabbit's lips, sounding like one of many voices. Join us, Yellow. Why, thank you for the invite, Scarecrow blurted out uncomfortably. You seem like a very nice fellow. He gulped as the rabbit's paw moved back and forth, the strange purple light glowing brighter with each second. I'm already promised to another. Yes, well, what I mean is, he gulped, chuckling. Have you seen a crow? We're looking for the Tin Wiz. The rabbit froze and hissed, eyes shifting red. You're wrong, he hissed again, eyes shifting yellow, then white. He leapt back, thrusting his paw back into his pocket. He leapt back, thrusting his paw back into the pocket. Back into a pocket. He hopped around in circles, mumbling, The quest. The rabbit looked in all directions, hopping away from Scarecrow while picking up his pace. He followed along the wall. The rabbit looked in all directions, hopping away from Scarecrow while picking up his pace. The animal Run for your life, the rabbit shouted over his shoulder as it hopped further away. Scarecrow scratched his head, very much confused by the crazed animal. He pushed himself off the wall as he watched the rabbit hopping away. He glanced at the hole where the rabbit had crashed through as he spotted a shiny red object amongst the rubble. He picked it up. The rabbit must have dropped it. He started to yell, Hey, Mr. Rabbit, you... But stopped when he realized the rabbit was long gone. The animal was long gone. He analyzed the shiny red thing in his palm. There were clear, sharp lines around the edges, and it felt like a rock. He raised it above his head to try it. He raised it above his head to get a better look at it, but the shadow cast by the wall didn't help. He shrugged and tucked it in his pocket, hearing it tap against the egg. What a strange find, and what a peculiar fellow. Hey, what's up, Takipa? Scarecrow peered up into the air. Mr. Crow? His voice echoed off in the distance. Nothing. He looked back at the opening in the wall. The rabbit's warnings reverberated in his mind. Behind him, the desert lightning continued to strike at the air just outside the orange barrier. He couldn't wait out here any longer. No more waiting. He had sat in that field for who knows how long. Scarecrow gulped as he pulled his coat tightly about himself, ducked his head, hunched down, and crammed himself through the wall. Crammed himself through the hole. Yeah, that's Interesting. So I feel like overall it's interesting when I read it back to back with that with the crazed rabbit character. Um, it's interesting. Hmm. It's kind of interesting because I don't really give the rabbit much of a name. I kind of use the rabbit hawkback. It's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if I should use cotton ball as a. They thrust upon that is privileged information, cotton ball. The rabbit hawkback. Hmm, that is privileged information, cotton ball. Cotton ball, hawkback, eyes shifting yellow, arms raised. What an interesting, and it's interesting because that actually really that name does feel right for the character actually. Cotton ball, huh? Hmm, interesting. Cotton ball, hawkback, eyes shifting yellow, arms raised. I'm apologies. The rabbit. The rabbit paused, took a deep breath, and hopped toward Scarecrow. He whispered, "That place is cursed." Don't. Cotton ball punched himself. Let's see. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's go this. He paused, took a deep breath, and hopped toward Scarecrow. He paused, took a deep breath, hopped toward Scarecrow, and whispered. And whispered towards Scarecrow. That place is cursed. Don't. Cotton ball punched himself as they reeled over. All right. With an audible oof. The rabbit bounced up, eyes murky gray. Oh my. Cotton ball covered its mouth. Covered, the rabbit bounced up, eyes murky gray. Oh my. Cotton ball covered his mouth with both hands, shocked. Both of his paws shot into side coat pockets. Eyes closed, face tense. He sighed audibly and relaxed. He sighed and relaxed. Eyes open, golden yellow. He walked towards Scarecrow, each step getting closer and closer. He fished out a paw, something grasped within as a bright purple light seeped through his fingers. He looked to Scarecrow, smile growing, but it wasn't friendly or endearing. It was ominous. Scarecrow tried to step away, but his back was already to the wall. Cotton Ball reached out with a closed fist. Cotton Ball reached out with a closed fist to touch him, purple light seeping out, golden yellow eyes glowing, neck craned, smiling wider and wider. The rabbit leaned close in. Cotton Ball leaned close in, his presence nearly overwhelming. Eyes of red as he asked with a deadly whisper, "Do I know you?" Scarecrow shook his head. "No, I don't know. I don't remember." He waved his arms, but try as he might, the rabbit's demeanor was overwhelming. Cotton Ball's paw inched nearer to Scarecrow's face. The purple light grew brighter from whatever the object was. Cotton Ball's paw inched nearer to Scarecrow's face as the purple light brightened. As the purple light intensified. With a sniff, the strange, with a sniff, the rabbit stopped. With a sniff, the rabbit stopped, their noses nearly touching. A soft, alluring whisper escaped his lips. A soft, alluring whisper escaped his lips, sounding like one of many voices. Join us, Yellow. Wait, thank you for the invite, Scarecrow blurted out uncomfortably. You seem like a very nice fellow. He gulped as the rabbit's paw moved back and forth. He gulped as the rabbit's paw moved back and forth. The strange growing light intensifying. Cotton Ball's paw inched nearer to Scarecrow's face as the purple light intensified. Now he is intensifying. He gulped as the rabbit's paw moved back and forth. The strange purple light casting shadows. I'm already promised another. Yes, well, what I mean is, he gulped, chuckling. Have you seen a crow? We're looking for the Tin Whiz. The Cotton Ball froze. Cotton Ball froze and hissed, eyes shifting red. You're wrong. He hissed again, eyes shifting yellow, then white. He leapt back, thrusting his paw into a pocket. He hopped around in circles, mumbling, the quest. The rabbit looked in all directions, hopping away from Scarecrow, picking up his pace. Run for your life, Cotton Ball shouted over his shoulder as it hopped further away. As he hopped further away. Scarecrow scratched his head, very much confused by the strange animal. Very much confused by the animal. He pushed himself off the wall as he watched the rabbit, or Cotton Ball, as he watched the rabbit, or Cotton Ball, hopping away. He glanced at the hole where the rabbit had crashed through, as he spotted a shiny red object amongst the rubble. He picked it up. Cotton Ball must have dropped it. He started to yell, "Hey, Mr. Rabbit, or Cotton Ball, you..." But stopped when he realized the animal was long gone. He analyzed the shiny red thing in his palm. There were clear, sharp lines around the edges, and it felt like a rock. He raised it above his head to get a better look at it, but the shadow cast by the wall didn't help. He shrugged and tucked it in his pocket, hearing it tap against the egg. What a strange find, and what a peculiar fellow. Scarecrow peered up into the air. "Mr. Crow?" His voice echoed off in the distance. Nothing. He looked back at the opening in the wall. Cotton Ball's warnings reverberated in his mind. Behind him, the desert lightning continued to strike at the air, just outside the orange barrier. He couldn't wait out here any longer. No more waiting. He had sat in that field for who knows how long. Scarecrow gulped as he pulled his coat tightly about himself, ducked his head, hunched down, and crammed himself through the hole. Yep. All right, that's much better, actually. I'm really happy with that. You know, it's interesting with some of the animals throughout the book. I always question on whether or not some of them needed names. And the rabbit, I played around with being the rabbit for so long, but I think Cotton Ball is like a really fitting name for the character, actually. It actually gives me an idea for later on. Yeah, so as you can see, I have my to-do list to fix minor things. Let's see, I need to... Alright, rabbit, update to Cotton Ball, name, and have the first moment of the rabbit getting upset when Scarecrow calls him by his name. That will be interesting. That's good tension for later. Okay, so I wanted to get that. Hey, what's up, Marta? Welcome. To keep, but it's totally understandable. Glad you're able to hop back on though. It's always really cool whenever you guys are able to join. As you guys can tell, I'm just doing so I'm on the third draft of Scarecrow. Let's see, and I'm just doing a read aloud. So I'm kind of including you guys in my process as I go through the third draft of this book, which is really just like me reading it aloud. This is like as I have on the cool new website, which I'm so happy about. So, which I love that I have the story progress thing now. So I'm on the third draft, which is really a focus on line edits and minor fixes. Most of the story developmentally is finished in the second draft. I wouldn't say that there's any real developmental work for draft 3. Draft 3 is really a focus on style and grammar and consistency. Once the third draft is done, then I hand it off to the editor. So yeah, so exciting. So exciting. Hope the writing vibe is treating y'all well today. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Okay, so we're moving right along into the next story arc of The Last Scarecrow. Okay. Chapter 7, Trial by Hand. The last Scarecrow tumbled out of the hole into a narrow alley between two structures that rose up on either side. He pulled his hat tightly over his head. He pulled the hat tightly over his head, forever afraid to lose it, and straightened himself up. He pulled the hat tightly over his head and straightened himself. Even though he was still outside, the air smelled musty. The last Scarecrow tumbled out of the hole into a narrow alley between two structures that rose up on either side. He pulled the hat tightly over his head and straightened himself. Even though he was still outside, the air smelled musty. He put the rabbit's warning out of mind and focused on searching for Mr. Crow, treading forward carefully. His hands brushed against the walls, feeling the cracking, dull, gray material. His hands brushed the walls, feeling the cracking, dull, gray material. It felt similar to the material used by the creators' homes, but somehow vastly more eroded. It felt similar to the creators' material, materials, but somehow it felt similar to the creators' materials, but somehow vastly more eroded. A dark orange shade was layered among. A dark. Orange tinted, gray, dingy orange blotches. It felt similar to the creators' materials, but somehow vastly more eroded. Dingy orange blotches. Dingy orange blotches were everywhere. Dingy orange blotch. It felt similar to but somehow vastly more eroded. Dingy orange blotches everywhere. Dingy orange blotches everywhere. It felt similar to the creators' materials, but somehow vastly more eroded, with dingy orange blotches everywhere. Somehow vastly more eroded, with dingy orange blotches. Yep. Reaching the end of the alley, Scarecrow poked his head out, gazing upon ruins spread out in all directions. For each domed home that stood barely erect, the next 10 homes were piles of rubble. Scarecrow realized this alley wasn't a result of two homes, but one split in half. Reaching the end of the alley, Scarecrow poked his head out, gazing upon ruins spread out in all directions. For each domed home that stood barely erect, the next 10 homes were piles of rubble. Scarecrow realized this alley wasn't a result of two structures. Reaching the end of the alley, Scarecrow poked his head out, gazing upon ruins spread out. For each domed structure, I say home, I should say structure. For each domed structure that stood barely erect, the next 10 were piles of rubble. He realized this alley wasn't a result of two structures, of two separate structures, but one split in half. Even the high wall surrounding these ruins crumbled from. Was crumbling from within. How was anything still? How was any of this still standing? Mr. Crow, are you out there? Scarecrow shouted, hearing nothing in return, hearing nothing but his own words. Scarecrow shouted, hearing nothing. Scarecrow shouted, hearing nothing in return but silence. Scarecrow shouted, hearing nothing but his own words traveling. Mr. Crow, are you out there? Scarecrow shouted, hearing nothing but his own words traveling, but his own words. He ventured towards the middle of a dirt road, wondering what tragedy had befallen this area. The red tower beckoned him off in the distance, like an invisible thread pulling him closer, screaming the name, Scarecrow. He felt himself drawn forward. As the path led deeper into the heart of the destruction. And who or what was a Tin Wizard? Another strange name only added to the mystery of this place. Maybe they could also tell him what happened here, and where the creators went. Maybe they could also tell him what happened here. Well, okay, so I think I did set up that it feels like it's the creator's home. So I think we did tightly, even though you saw the air smell. He put that rabbit's warning out of mind, focused on searching for Mr. Crow. This must be. Let's see. This must have been another. Do I want to set this up as another creator dwelling? I think I did in the last draft. I think it's fine. The red tower beckoned him off in the distance, like an invisible thread pulling him closer, screaming the name Scarecrow. He felt himself drawn forward as the path led deeper into the heart of the destruction. And who or what was a Tin Wizard? Another strange name only added to the mystery of this place. Maybe they could also tell him what happened here. He attempted to imagine the boy with the red beanie, but was met with bones. Let's see. He gulped as he as he walked forward. He gulped as he had traveled. Down the path. He gulped as he traveled. He looked around wearily. All right. He glanced around wearily as he walked. These ruins unnerved him. These ruins I don't think we need that. Maybe they could also tell him what happened. So, okay, what are we doing? So let's, I think I need to adjust that. He ventured towards the middle of a dirt road, wondering what tragedy had befallen this area. The red tower beckoned him off in the distance, like an invisible thread pulling him closer, screaming the name, Scarecrow. Screaming the name, Scarecrow. He felt himself drawn. He felt himself drawn forward as the path led deeper into the heart of the destruction. And who or what was a Tin Wizard? Another strange name only added to the mystery of this place. Maybe they could also tell him what happened here. He glanced around warily as he walked, in silence. He glanced around warily as he walked. That's what we need. All right. He glanced around warily as he walked. Empty structures. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Let's go empty structures. Ruined. Empty structures. Ruined. Empty and ruined structures were all that greeted him. Let's go. Alright, so, and maybe they could also tell him what happened here. He glanced around wearily as he walked. Empty and ruined structures were all that greeted him. The hanging silence didn't help to deter his unease. Something felt off about this place. The air should smell fresh since he was outside. The air should smell fresh with the sky above him since he was outside, yet a musty aroma clung to his every breath like a plague. The sun and clouds above remained perfectly still, unlike the skies he had encountered outside the dome barrier. Every so often, the orange barrier shimmered just outside the fallen city's border. Every so often, the orange barrier shimmered. High in the sky. High above the city. Every so often, the orange barrier shimmered high above the city. Outside the Let's go. Every so often, the orange barrier shimmered high above the ruins. Stop, squeaked a voice. Scarecrow froze, peering in all directions, but seeing nothing. Stop! Dag! Nab you! Halt! Desist! Decease! Scarecrow listened to the voice, reminding him of childlike mischief, rattling on words. Scarecrow listened to the voice, which reminded him of childlike, mischievous qualities, rattling off words beyond his vocabulary. Scarecrow listened to the voice, which reminded him of childlike, mischievous qualities, rattling off words beyond his vocabulary. Scarecrow listened to the childlike, mischievous voice, rattling off words. Scarecrow listened to the childlike, mischievous voice rattling off words. He didn't understand. Scarecrow listened to the childlike, mischievous voice rattling off words. Beyond his vocabulary. The voice commanded him to stop in his tracks, but all he could do was see rubble to either side of it. The voice commanded him to stop. We can fix this. Marta, that's so awesome. That's really, really cool, my friend. The paperback is already available. I'm so excited about it. That's incredible. Really, really great work. That's, I think, anytime we can get our books out is such an achievement. So really great work, my friend. Scarecrow listened to the childlike, mischievous voice, ratting off words beyond his vocabulary. Let's do this. Okay, so I know what rattled off. Rattled off a childlike, mischievous voice. And now we can fit. Scarecrow looked around. Scarecrow looked around, but all he could see was rubble to either side of the path. But all he could see was rubble. Was rubble on either side of the dirt path. I'm sorry, a stone bounced off his leg. Alright, so I think that's better. Stop, squeaked a voice. Scarecrow froze, peering in all directions, but saying nothing. Stop, dagnab you! Halt! Desist! Rattled off a childlike, mischievous voice. Rattled off the childlike, mischievous voice. Scarecrow looked around, but all I could see was rubble on either side of the dirt path. I'm sorry, a stone bounced off his leg. He followed the source of the voice and the incoming rocks to a nearby pile of rubble. Scarecrow bent down, lifting a giant boulder as a hand shot out, grabbing him by the chest. Scarecrow bent down, lifting a giant boulder as a hand as an armless hand. All right, there we go. As an armless hand. I think that's clear enough. Scarecrow bent down, lifting a giant boulder as an armless hand shot out, grabbing him by the chest and yanking him to the ground. A hand attached to no arm, body, or legs landed on the ground just before his face. So I clarify here. Scarecrow bent down, lifting a giant boulder as an armless as a hand, because I clarify it here. Scarecrow bent down, lifting a giant boulder as an armless hand shot out, grabbing him by the chest and yanking him to the ground. A hand attached to no arm, body, or legs landed on the ground just before his face. Let's go. The hand was attached to no arm. The hand was attached to nothing as it landed on the ground. The armless hand landed on the ground just before his face. The hand stood on its 5 fingers. It was comprised of the same material as the creator's beasts. It was comprised of the same material as the beast that wasn't a beast. It was comprised of the same material as the beast that wasn't a beast, and the creator's homes. He reached out to touch it, but the hand swatted him away with 4 fingers while leaning on the thumb. He reached out to touch it, but the hand swatted him away with 4 fingers while leaning on its thumb. Let's see, the armless hand landed on the ground just before his face. The hand stood on its 5 fingers. It was comprised of the same material as the beast that wasn't a beast and the creator's homes. He reached out to touch it, but the hand swatted him away with 4 fingers while leaning on its thumb. Were scarecrows always this rude? The hand stated, standing on 2 fingers while crossing the others. Hello, I'm speaking to you. The words emanated from its palm. Well, the words emanated from its palm. The words rose. The words came from its palm, while thin lines etched between the fingers flashed dully with each word. The words came from its palm, while thin lines. Okay, let's see. So I have to make this clear. The words came from its palm, while thin lines. Etched isn't the right word. While thin lines. Let's see. What is etched? Well, thin. That's actually, I don't think. The word came from its palm, while thin lines between the fingers flashed dully with each word. Hello? I'm sorry, Scarecrow stuttered. I didn't know hands could talk. I'm curious. Can you tell me something? Sure. Do you have straw for brains? Scarecrow laughed. That weird rabbit fellow seemed to think so. Did the rabbit say that? All right, so do you have straw for brains? No, I actually don't even know if I mentioned that. That was a crow bit. Mm. Yeah, because I go to crow in just a second. Hey, what's up, Andrew? You're one of my biggest motivators. Been sometimes I tuned in. Life got the best of me lately. Oh, I really appreciate that, my friend. That really means a lot to me. Hey, what's up, Mary? Finally get to check in, talk to the hand. I know this is literally a talk to the hand moment. I really appreciate that, my friends. It's if there's anything that I try to do, it's just help people get motivated to write more, to write now. I know this is kind of a funny moment that he's talking to the hand. All right, so I'm stuck here because this is a really good moment, but I realize I think when I adjusted, I don't think the rabbit actually mentions this. So now I have to go back and adjust the rabbit scene or make this work. Just a really good tie-in. All right, I'm gonna have to come back to this in just a moment. We got to go back to rabbit scene, and I have to get a better reference. So the rabbit mentions the place being cursed. The strawberry bit is something that I use well with Crow and the Pixie later on. I'm gonna have to change that. It's kind of unfortunate because it's a good moment. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. All right, I figured it out. We're gonna add a bit because this is just a good one. Do you have straw for brains? Scarecrow chuckled uncomfortably. Comfortably. I hope not. I hope not, but I don't think so. I hope. I don't think so, but my companion. Do you let's see. Do you want to be cursed? Scarecrow laughed. Oh, we don't need a laugh. Scarecrow gulped. No, I don't need a gulp. Crow shrugged. No, that doesn't make sense. Do you know? Let's go. Do you know this place is cursed? Scarecrow shook his head. That weird rabbit fellow seemed to think so. Do you know if this place is cursed? That doesn't really make sense for the Hands character. Are you looking to get cursed? Scarecrow shook his head. That weird rabbit fellow did warn. Let's do that. So I'm sorry, Scarecrow stuttered. I didn't know hands could talk. I'm curious, can you tell me something? Sure. Do you have straw for brains? Scarecrow chuckled uncomfortably. I don't think so, but my companion, are you looking to get cursed? Scarecrow shook his head. That weird rabbit fellow did warn. The hand fell onto its palm, thrashing all fingers against the ground. Jarbled words spewed out in no discernible order. Rabbit, blasted, hellfire. Rabbit, blasted, hellfire. Pain in my palm. The hand hopped back onto all fingers and paced in circles, muttering, "Take care of the deranged rabbit, hand. Shoo away the sunflowers, hand. Clean up the chipmunk and elephant and blah. Can you believe the straw-brain foot?" The rubble pile rumbled. The rubble pile trembled. A foot, same materials as the hand, and detached from the knee down, kicked aside rubble and hopped to land beside hand. Without words, foot bobbed its knee back and forth as the lines running along its ridges lit up dully. The hand's fingers relaxed. Wise guy, I know, but why couldn't he be an owl? I like owls. They have brains, wings, and vows to silence. The hand's fingers relaxed. Wise guy, I know, but why couldn't he be an owl? I like owls. They shut up. They vow silence. At least they don't. At least they don't. Excuse me, Scarecrow interrupted. Yes, I think that the hand's fingers relaxed. Wise guy, I know, but why couldn't he be like an owl? But why couldn't he be an owl? I like owls. They vow silence. At least they don't. Excuse me. Yeah. Excuse me, Scarecrow interrupted. Speaking of birds, either of you fine fellows have not, by any chance, seen a crow? Scarecrow lifted himself onto his elbows. Scarecrow pushed himself onto his elbows. He's about this big, and we know what a crow looks like, Hand retorted. You calling Foot stupid? Scarecrow got to his knees, waving his hands back and forth. I'm so sorry, Mr. Foot. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm worried about my... What was Mr. Crow to him? Mr. Crow, I hope you can forgive me. Scarecrow waited for Foot's response. Scarecrow waited for a response. The Foot waved its knee back and forth, dull lights reverberating with each wave. Scarecrow leaned his hand in, hoping for an answer. As if sensing the silence, Hand swung onto the Foot's kneecap. Don't expect an answer anytime soon. Foot has chosen a life of silence. Don't expect an answer anytime soon. Foot has chosen a life of silence. Scarecrow shrugged and reached out to pat Foot on its shin. The Foot stopped shaking and glowed brighter. The lights dimmed. The Foot stopped shaking and glowed brighter before the lights dimmed again. Before the lights dimmed once more. Foot stabber, the Hand muttered. It then propped itself onto a thumb and pointed at Scarecrow. You're looking for the Tin Wizard, right? I am, Scarecrow responded surprised. How did you know? Every animal, creature, and beast in this forsaken world shows up wanting answers. In these forsaken lands, every animal, creature, and beast in the lands of the last, shows up wanting answers. And Mr. Crow? Hand quickly responded. Never seen a crow in my life. Scarecrow looked to the ground with a sigh. Hand chimed in. Mayhaps the Tin Wizard will have all the answers, and you can live happily ever after. The Hand rested, palm down, atop the Foot's knee. It tapped the Foot like riding a beast, like riding an animal. As they hopped onto the dirt trail, one footstep at a time. Hand spun on its wrist with a display of showmanship, with a grand display. Dripping with sarcasm and disdain, Hand proclaimed, "Follow your guide through a world full of wonder and delight." Foot hopped up and down in circles with enthusiasm. His hand clung on. But be warned, Hand's voice grew monotonous, as if it had repeated this line many times before. Death and terror await those deemed unworthy. The rubble spread out before you are ashes of failure. The rubble spread out before you are the ashes of failure. Scarecrow jumped. Death and terror await those deemed unworthy. The rubble spread out before you are the ashes of failure. Scarecrow jumped. That was most unexpected. He leaned down to inspect the closest. Scarecrow jumped. He leaned down to inspect the closest pile of rubble. Granted, he didn't know what ashes looked like, so not like he would know the difference. Granted, he didn't know what ashes looked like, so he didn't. So not like he would know the difference. Granted, he didn't know what ashes looked like, so he wouldn't know the difference. So he wouldn't know the difference. None of the scarecrows back in the field had ashes. None of the scarecrows back in the field had ashes. Did that make them different? A finger tapped him on the wrist. Proceed with caution. The hand, a finger tapped him on the waist. Proceed with caution. Scarecrow trailed along after the hand and foot. Foot hopped along steadily, forcing Scarecrow to keep up. Who would have thought a single foot could move so fast? All the while, the hand remained upright, sharing insights about. Spouting facts. And that magnificent stone pile to your right once housed an entrance to the greatest library in these forsaken lands. Comparable to the famed histories of the logs, inhabitants from all over the lands, the foot kicked up about of dirt. From all over the city, the foot kicked up more dirt. While those who could read, the foot stomped on the ground. Oh, all right, no animals knew or cared how to read a book. What's a book? Scarecrow questioned. He tried to picture a house or a library, whatever that was, where the stones were, but came up short. Hand rubbed its fingers in frustration. You don't know. Why should I expect anything? You don't know? The hand rubbed its fingers in frustration. Why should I expect? Why should I expect anything these days? Scarecrow stumbled on a patch of dirt and caught himself. He stopped, clenched his hands into fists, and stated, I don't know where we are. I don't understand where the scarecrows or creators went. I don't get what's wrong with Mother Nature. And you've been hiding under a rock or something. I woke up to my field when Mr. Crow, he touched the brim of his straw hat, further convinced it had brought him to life. Further convinced it had brought him to life. Fear welled up at the thought of losing it. What if he ended up like the others? And all the scarecrows were. I woke up to my field when Mr. Crow. All right, so this is a bit too much. He touched the brim of the straw hat. Fearful. He touched the brim of the straw hat. Fearful of losing it. Fearful of losing it. He touched the brim. I woke up to my field when Mr. Crow. He touched the brim of his straw hat. Let's see. He touched the brim of his straw hat, further convinced it had brought him to life. Let's see if that works. I woke up to my field when Mr. Crow, he touched the brim of his straw hat, further convinced it had brought him to life. And all the scarecrows were, he gulped, not good. Foot hadn't stopped moving, so he raced to catch up. Please tell me what's going on. The hand rubbed its palm uncomfortably. Pass. Pass what? Scarecrow waited for an answer. The lines in the hand began to light up, but ceased. Foot hopped along, his hand pointed at another pile of rubble in the distance. Statue of the last, deemed the greatest architecture of the 4 monuments. Foot kicked up dirt. Fine, you tell the story. Scarecrow raised a finger, trying to get a word in. Hand knocked on Foot. That's right, you can't. Can you at least explain how this tin wizard was able to speak to me? It felt like. Foot skidded to a halt in a cloud of dust. Hand spun around and shot at Scarecrow, grabbing his chest. 2 fingers tapped his chin. He spoke to you? We wouldn't have known about this place otherwise. You see, Mr. Crow needs. Hand propelled himself on his Scarecrow's shoulder. Grab Foot, now. Why would do it? Hand commanded. Scarecrow picked up Foot by the shin. He was surprised at the weight, despite its size. You see the red tower in the distance, Scarecrow? Hard to miss. Does something look strange about it? It was so far away, but even at this distance, there were many windows. It was so far away, but even at this distance, it was so far away, but even at this distance, there looked to be stairs within. There looked to be a staircase, a spiraled staircase within. It's tall, he guessed. Hand rubbed its fingers, frustrated. Anything else? It looks kind of red and crumbly. Hand smacked its palm. Hint, think of the aura. What's an aura? For the love of, we don't have time for this, Strawbrain. The foot hopped into the air. Oh, for the love of, we don't have time for this. We don't want Strawbrain. For the love of, we don't have time for this. The foot hopped into the air. The lines on both hand and foot lit up dully as hand shouted, fail! The hand snapped, and the space before them shimmered away like a fading mirage. Rising proudly into the sky just down the street was the red tower. No longer was it quite so far away as it had once appeared. Between them, a dried-up fountain centered within a crossroads. While Scarecrow didn't understand any of it, he realized something. Where are we? That's what you get for sneaking in the. That's what you get for sneaking in the back. Hand spat. Riding foot around the fountain, Hand muttered over a raised finger. Welcome to New City, last haven of the Western Monuments. Yeah, wow, that's a good ending, actually. I'm really glad with that. That's a good chapter ending. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. The chapter's actually really, really strong. I think this is the first time where I think I balance more, where I wanted to bring a little bit more comedy to the strangeness of the world, and the Hand actually does well. It does well. It introduces a sense of world building that the reader, I think, will find fascinating. Hey, what's up, Neil? Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, my friend. Really, really much appreciated. Hey, what's up, Lottie? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just going through the Last Scarecrow. Oh, so cool. So awesome. All right, well, I made it through chapter 7. So very happy with that. Getting through the 3rd draft. Awesome. So for those of you who missed out yesterday, want to know more about the Last Scarecrow? Welcome. Currently on the 3rd draft. Very, very excited. I'm so happy to have the book cover now. Going to be a fun read. But I feel like we were able to get some good progress in today. Hopefully you were a little entertained as we traveled with Scarecrow through this. We're currently in the New City arc of the story. So definitely a little fun as Scarecrow is joined by the Hand and the Foot, which I thought this is such a fun. This is a fun beat. I love this part. It's interesting because I wanted to create such a different style compared to the very empty, desolate landscape Scarecrow had experienced so far. And I feel really good about this. Yeah, I'm really happy about this part of the book. So we shall see just what we see. I'll be back tomorrow for another daily writing sprint stream. Make sure to come join us. And yeah, actually, I'll probably have an update tomorrow as well. So make sure to come join us. We'll have an update tomorrow as well. We got a cool big update. Actually, I think we have a couple updates. So come join us. I'll be live at some point tomorrow. Yeah. If you like the stream, make sure to tap that like button on the way out. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends, that is all that I got for you. But unfortunately, you found yourself at the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. Words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers. It's time to write.
Right now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now. Is that right?